I love that he starts off in Detroit and she's like, I gotta take you somewhere else.
Yeah.
Somewhere worse. Philadelphia.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
In the middle of Philadelphia that looks like a goddamn saloon and shit. You know?
Even he was scared though. I love that. Like he dropped that whole tough guy. She's like, Mama!
Mama,
Leave me in the door! Mama ain't dead. Mama ain't dead. Hey everyone, support our Patreon, which helps us to continue bringing you our live streams, videos, and podcasts while bringing you new content such as exclusive live streams and animated shorts. Let's go ahead and get into a quick review. I'm gonna get this out the way so when we start talking about spoilery things, you ain't got to deal with it. Yeah. Where is?
That's exactly what I was thinking the whole time.
Exactly. Oh, there he is.
There you go.
Ha! How Yeah. How you doing, partner?
I reckon I'm doing just fine.
Oh, Martin just got off the planes today.
Do all cowboys have to talk like this?
They do. They do. Real ones do, at least, partner.
Set me up with a whiskey.
Oh, and anything else you got there on the shelf? Martin, how you doing?
Doing okay. I gotta pee real bad, so the faster we can get through this.
Well, I'll tell you what. Go ahead and pee first, man.
You sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
What you gonna do while I'm gone?
You know,
Talk shit.
talk shit about you. You know what it is. That goddamn hat. That motherfucker. You know he go to gay clubs and shit. Go pee, partner.
Wait, why is that bad?
No, it ain't bad. It ain't bad at all. Ain't bad at all.
Living your life.
He heads out in the sunset wearing that hat and nothing else. Maybe a sarsaparilla and a smile. I ain't gonna talk shit, man. Go
Yes, you are.
I'm talking shit right now, man. I'm already getting it out of my system. Go ahead. Go. Go
sure?
pee. Yeah, I'm sure.
Sure?
I don't want you to be uncomfortable doing that review,
Right.
man.
Okay.
Actually, this is based not only on a true story, but a true culture out there. You can read all about this. A lot of people have been writing about this for years, but this is based on a community of riders, of horse riders in Philadelphia. In particular, I'm sure there's a lot out there. In particular, this group is called the Fletcher Street Riders. And what they do is first of all, they have a history going way back where when things, when you had things being replaced by automobiles and other forms of transportation, you had these guys who kept the horses around. They actually kept the horses around because, you know, all up until modern times, something these guys still do today, they go out and get these horses and they form communities with them. They ride them in urban areas and they try to keep them from being killed when people look at them as being useless. And they also, they're very closely tied to the history of black people as cowboys. They try to keep that history alive. They try to educate people on that. We'll get more into that in a little bit. But yeah, it's a real thing, man. So now somebody's finally telling their story with A-list stars. Idris Elba plays one of these urban cowboys, real urban cowboys who his son, you know, it's one of those stories where, his son's acting crazy and mama can't deal with his ass no more. And mama, she pulls up in the town and drops his ass off in the middle of the night and says, "Scar!" I mean, she wanted that kid to die.
I was like, good for her.
No, he's a knucklehead, man.
Tired of this shit.
Yeah, he's a punk.
Yeah, you're like, this is the fourth school you've been kicked out of. I ain't do nothing. Okay, I don't need to hear no more.
No, exactly. So she said, if I can't do nothing with your ass, maybe a cowboy can. maybe your
daddy who don't give a shit about you can do something.
Yeah, maybe he can do something with your dumb ass. So they drop his ass off she dropped his ass on in the middle of the night in the hood.
I love that he starts off in Detroit and she's like, I gotta take you somewhere else.
Yeah.
Somewhere worse. Philadelphia.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
In the middle of Philadelphia that looks like a goddamn saloon and shit. You know?
Even he was scared though. I love that. Like he dropped that whole tough guy. She's like, Mama!
Leave me in the door! Mama ain't dead. Mama ain't dead. Had his ass walking around with trash bags full of clothes.
And was like, hey, Come here.
Yeah, he's like, whoa. Well, you know he's stupid when he's in the car with her like, Mom, where are we going? Why are my clothes in her?
Yeah, he's not too bright.
He's like the Grinch's dog.
So drops his ass off in the middle of some black cowboys and said, let them do something with you. And she's hoping that maybe his father, who needs a man in his life, and what better man than an actual, a real man, a cowboy, needs to show him a thing or two. Get him in there to do some hard labor, get him riding horses, and then maybe, just maybe he'll get his senses together and never come back home because I don't want to deal with that shit with him no more. Let's go ahead and take a look at this trailer for Concrete Cowboy.
50% of all cowboys were black. Even the Lone Ranger were black.
Who's the Lone Ranger?
Harp, you teaching this boy anything?
He was that cannibal that teamed up with Johnny Depp in that movie, right?
Yeah, the moment he said that, I was like, God damn.
You know what he did? He'd be funny if he put his clothes in a bag, put him on a horse, and dropped his ass off in the truck. Daddy! Get off me.
The history here is deep. You can't be in my house. You want to wise up? You welcome back.
Welcome back to what? I ain't got no home here.
That's your choice.
That's his parenting style. Just like, listen to me, you're on the fucking streets.
No one feels sorry for this kid.
No one in this neighborhood, no one in the audience.
No. Well, his mom packed his clothes in a trash bag because she threw his ass away. No one gives a shit about this kid at all. And honestly, that's what this little bastard needs.
We're going to do what we always do. We're going to ride.
You can see us Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things in there. Got some nuts on him now, trying to be all hard.
A little bit of
Went from the nerdy black kid in Stranger Things.
Wow, guys, what are we gonna do next?
So now look at him.
You ain't my daddy. You ain't my father. Shit, you fathered everybody else except me.
There's a lot of derivatives in this movie right here. There's a lot of derivatives. First of all, it's one of those get out the hood stories. Man, if I just make this dollar right here, we gonna make this money. We're gonna go up against the most dangerous fucking drug dealer in the neighborhood. But we just you and me.
It's one of those where these characters are stupid because anybody could see where this is gonna go.
But that's the thing. This is it's a predictable subplot. Even though I like this actor Gerald Jerome as Smush. He's the one about to get smushed.
So intimidating.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's Smush.
Yeah, it's a street.
That's
name.
a name.
That is a street ass name.
That is a street ass name.
That's my
That's
cousin
also
Smush.
your fate. You keep fucking around.
It's an inevitability.
Yeah, and it's the kid from the Central Park 5 story on Netflix, and also the kid from Moonlight.
Yeah.
Who's actually, look, I like that actor a lot, but as I said, man, this is a story that we've all seen.
I'm gonna get my money, and I'm gonna get up out of here.
Yeah, sure you are. Yeah, we heard that shit before. You and every other fucking knucklehead.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's always them pissing off some drug dealer. They're always doing the same thing, just hanging out in the house. Smoking or drinking, always got some nameless chick hanging on to him,
Monologuing a little bit. Monologuing.
Yeah.
Has a pet, has like a weird pet. In this case, it's this fish.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm feeding my fish.
That's the thing. You got to make your drug dealers philosophical.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Every single time.
They got to be laid back and philosophical, so it's more shocking when they do something. Violent, except it's not because you expect it.
Yeah, they just hood ass Bond villains, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great description.
Hood ass Bond villains. They slept at monologuing. They petting pit bulls or fish or some shit.
Just feeding my fish.
Yeah, man. We've seen it. We've seen that storyline before. Also, the very very overfamiliar estranged son and father story.
Hey, I'm your father.
You ain't my father! I mean, you a father to everyone else out here.
We've heard that over and over again. You ain't my father. You never been there for me. Why don't you love me?
I mean, Idris Elba, he's so estranged from his son. He's kind of estranged from the movie because he just disappears for 40 minutes and we don't see him ever.
Shit, for a movie that advertises itself as an Idris Elba movie, he's barely in it.
Yeah.
And even when he's in it, you see that scene there, that kid, he's acting his ass off.
really
and
is.
Idris Elba's just like, are you done?
Yeah, you
'Cause
finished?
I
Yeah.
got another movie to be on. I got to go shoot some more scenes for. I got to do some pickups for Suicide Squad.
I like them more than you.
They have a story here where Cole is his name. Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things. He plays Cole. He's the son, and you know him and that horse. All of a sudden, I don't know what it is. It's almost like, Dan, did you have sex with that horse? Because what, like, he jumps in that horse's bedroom, and then they just cut to the morning where they're both asleep, and then somebody comes up like,
what?
The horse,
It's stable. It's stable. It's bedroom. Whatever the fuck it is. I don't know.
Same thing. Shit. Ain't nothing, no, because ain't nothing stable about this movie.
When you say walk over to
but
the
they-
horse's bedroom.
Yeah, horses. No, he's in that horse's room. It's pretty much
That's
like
what it is.
pretty much like the horse's bedroom, man. Because they walk up and the horse is smoking a cigarette and shit.
Daniel Radcliffe, he just left, so he's
Yeah, and they're just like, damn, that horse really likes you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Someone
expect
like-
you to be dead.
That horse hates everybody.
Except
what
you.
did you do?
It's like, what did y'all do last night? So he's, it's one of those where it's like the magical bond
Yeah.
with no explanation except that it happens.
Hey, the horse found somebody more pathetic than himself.
But now I don't know. I think this is where we'll probably start to have different opinions here because all those derivatives there, I was not, of course, crazy about. And I think the beginning of the movie spends a lot of time on like the hood story. It spends a lot of time on the father and son thing. But once they started to get away from that and get more into the culture of what these urban writers are about, I started to get into the movie again. I started to get more into it because I found the culture fascinating. Now, this is something that it's either gonna put you out of the movie or draw you in more. Because what they want you to do is feel bad for these writers here, because a lot of them they're just kind of getting real cheap housing and buildings that nobody wants until, of course, people start coming in and saying, we got to tear this
Gentrification.
shit down because, we got to make some money off of it. Gentrification, I'm not a big fan of, but it's kind of crazy because they're not exactly, the writers, they're not exactly making the best argument about keeping these properties and taking care of these horses when you walk up in the house and they got a horse in the living room. Is anybody gonna talk about the horse in the living room? Because that is both ghetto and white trash as fuck.
Covered all his bases.
That's redneck and ghetto as fuck, man. At the same time,
New subculture.
as you can get. What you say? New
subculture. Yeah.
But like I said, you either accept it right there, you don't. Because I was like,
It's more for a comedic effect. That's what that was.
yeah, it really was. It really was. But I don't know. Maybe some of these dudes really do have a horse in the house. But I tell you, I found it. I find it fascinating the lifestyle they live, because the more they get into it, you see that they're fighting to not only keep property, but they're fighting to keep this culture alive. They're fighting to keep history alive, and of course they keep getting pushed out by gentrification. But when you look at it, it feels like they are very nomadic people in a way, because once that's done, they go and find some more cheap property in order to keep these horses in. There's two things that happen. When I learn something, and when they use real people here.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, Corey's all over this."
Yeah. They have real people in the movie. They got a guy named Paris, and I forgot his real name, but in the movie he can walk in real life, but in the movie he has a wheelchair. And I'm surprised at some of the performances that they get out of him. Now, when this brother got to reach deep to get real emotional, it's not working 100%.
Sure, but by the end, when they show you the people who are actually Fletcher Street cowboys, you're like, wow, they really came off as a quasi, somewhere between actors and real people. They did a good job, and it added some authenticity to it, and I appreciated that.
Wow, I did not know that he was. I thought he was just an actor.
Yeah,
So I had no idea. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
I think he had some of the better scenes in the movie. He's he acts as the father to Caleb when Idris Elba's like, well, I'm going to leave for 45
Yeah,
minutes.
someone said, they were like, well, okay, so Idris isn't going to be back till next week. Can you just do some of his lines in
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, they both had a great rapport.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, old and younger, who are in there. And they seem like really again, they seem
Even
very
the love
natural.
interest, she was an actual cowboy.
Sure was. Yeah, they have a love interest in the movie. Let's see if I can find a picture of her. I thought for sure when I saw her, I thought that she was an actress. Let me see if I can find. I don't know her name, but beautiful girl, man, and very natural in front of the camera. And they interviewed her after the movie, and turns out, yeah, she's a Fletcher Street writer. Wow. It reminded me of another movie. Now, this is not as good, but it reminded me of a movie that I really liked, who did something very similar, dealing with nomadic people, and brought some of those people from that lifestyle, real people from that lifestyle, into the film.
You are one of those lucky people that can travel anywhere.
Yes, ma'am, I know.
And they sometimes call you nomads.
This is Nomadland with
Frances
McDormand. That's up for an Academy Award, I think. People are chatting about it that way. Don't think they'll do the same thing with this movie, but I did appreciate that. And also, I love it that when they talk about keeping the history alive, you realize, man, again, just how much they say whitewashed, you can say erased, but they talk about how if you listen to one of the characters in the movie, they say 50% of cowboys out there were black. And what they've done is they've erased it from history because you don't hear about today, and they did what they did with things like rock and roll and a few other things. They erased the history. It's taken away from us and then used by somebody else, and then they make us hate it. We look at westerns, we look at country music, and it's like, oh, that's corny, oh, that's white, that's redneck, that's almost racist. But black cowboys were very prominent. And there's a fascinating discussion that they have in there, and again, with some of these real writers about how they've just been taken out, even talking about how the term cowboy is even somewhat racist because that's what they used to call them, boy.
Sure.
Cowboy.
Sure. Even the whole thing they say about the Lone Ranger, that was cool. That was true, which it gets brought up in the Watchmen miniseries. Hollywood
has a hard time trying to bring this onto film, the history of black cowboys. It's hardly ever worked. Mario Van Peebles was a cowboy where he wore suspenders that covered his nipples and shit.
Because Mario's got to look good.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got to be cool.
Exactly. And then, you have, they exaggerated to a point where it's just ridiculous.
Test your chest, loveless.
Likes to.
You just a ridiculous motherfucker is what you are.
How dare you bring that into the conversation?
Well, I had to show you, this is why I appreciate it, because Hollywood has a certain way of bringing black cowboys onto film, man. They do it in the most silly way that they can, like I do with a lot of things.
I thought you were going to show this other film.
It's almost like
Django. That's what you were going to show.
It's like they're going, oh, black cowboys. That's so silly.
Yeah.
We gotta sell some Burger King too.
Whoever heard of black cowboys? Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, you're right. Or they do it with Django, where they exaggerate, which is cool. I understand entertainment, but like walking into this and being kind of educated, and especially not have to go back in time to do it, showing it in a contemporary setting. Listen, this has some problems, but I will tell you, I really do appreciate some of the things. And I don't know if you guys don't appreciate it as much as I do from what I've heard, because I really did like Idris Elba in this. Because I like Idris Elba was just he's like, look, I'm not gonna sit up here and cry over your ass,
See, I liked him the little bit he was in it, but he's not in it that much. And really, for the father-son thing, they needed more interaction between the two of them.
Yeah, that didn't bother me because I thought, for one, it was Cole's story, the son, at first. I thought it's his story, followed by the Fletcher Street Riders, and then he came in that order. Method Man is impressing me as being a better.
Yeah,
good.
He did a really good job. He's kind of like the in-between where he knows what's going to happen, but he's still a part of that community, but it's just like, what am I going to do? They show this entire culture in this specific incident right here based on a true story. But it's like, because the reason why certain people come in and say, like, these animals are supposedly being abused. And we don't really see that.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is like, okay, are you kind of fudging history to show like these animals weren't actually, they were malnourished, but you don't want to show that in the movie? And so, because usually there's always a little gray in between. There's a little truth between both sides. And so
I was reading about this, and that's not the case.
Okay. I was just curious, because like, there's a dead animal like right in the middle of the thing.
Because what they present is like, well, okay, these people don't have a lot of money, so they aren't really taking care of things, and they can't bury a dead horse.
Yeah.
So it makes you think, all right, if they can barely afford rent or all these things, maybe they can't afford to feed the animals like they should. I mean, if you read something different, that's fine. I'm just saying what the movie came across as to me.
I read that
Yeah.
they surprisingly take care of the animals. That's why they even get them, because somebody would destroy these animals if they're not taking them out there.
Which they mentioned in the movie. I was just
they
curious.
do.
Yeah, no, they actually, I think they
Okay.
take care of them as much as they can, at least.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then these, these animals aren't really suffering. But I agree with you. It was like, that's what I was saying earlier. It was like, you got a fucking horse in your house.
You got a horse in the city.
Is that legal? I don't think that's legal.
It's one of these things like we're fighting to preserve the tradition and culture, but it's like, yeah, but that only goes so far. Like the world does move on, and it's like we're fighting to preserve old time radio shows. It's like I get that, but that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the horses. It's like, I mean, everybody in this story is apparently got their thing going on, but like, I was sitting there like, man, these horses are like in the middle of the city, like they can't just run out and do their thing, and like they're being kept in living rooms and shit. So it's like,
Well, actually, they try to bring them out in the fields
but
and
you
whatnot.
say tried. They not like they bring them out there, but they bring them right back afterwards. City.
I don't know. Apparently, they take them riding. They have open areas that they take these horses to. So, I'm just telling what I heard. Now, I ain't gonna be surprised one day I hear all these horses and got diseases.
They have mange and they have,
It turns out to be some Tiger King shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
These horses start turning to zombies and shit. I don't know, man. But as far as the movie goes, man, I think I'm probably going to come across as liking this movie better than you guys, because by the end of it, when it started out, I was not a huge fan. But by the end of it, I was enjoying it a lot more. Like I said, because it just held my interest what this community is doing. I'm looking for a picture here of the director.
people?
Or what's that?
I was gonna say the actual people. Like
I put some of the people up there, but I have because the director is interesting, because a lot of people are talking about this movie in a favorable way. This movie's, it's not, I don't think it's gonna be getting any kind of awards or anything.
It's getting solid reviews though.
But it's good. Yeah. Is it? I don't. Yeah. What is it? How's it doing?
No, people are praising a number of the performances, particularly Caleb McLaughlin. Is that how you say his name?
He's
like, they're saying he's not just Lucas from Stranger Things. Like, he can hold himself.
Yeah, I
Hold the scenes with
I
someone
didn't
like Idris
recognize
Elba.
that was him.
Yeah.
No, he's actually good. He's actually really good in the movie, I thought. As you said, to a point that he was unrecognizable in a way. He's definitely got some range on him.
It's funny that he's still wearing those shorts with little socks and shoes.
We have to maintain that aesthetic, though.
You got milk my youth as long as I
gotta know my brand.
Still dressing like Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, looking like a kid from the 80s still,
Well, Netflix is saying now that you can't age too much. People still got to see
we
as
still
that
gotta bring you
character.
back.
It's a Netflix movie. Maybe they just put his ass over the other set. Oh my God, they were done. You ain't got to change.
horses.
Oh, yeah.
You can keep them striped socks on. The director here, Ricky Straub, is a white guy, and nobody's really making that a big deal or anything. I think because today we're talking about who should tell what stories, but nobody was really making a film about this, I don't think. And he brought it up, and it's something where you can see that anybody can go in and direct anything, really, if they want to. But there is a certain level of respect and attention and screen time you got to give, and there's a certain approach you have to take if you're coming from another, I don't know, race, culture, whatever, when you do this. Because I thought he did pretty well. Like I said, now, if Spike Lee had been trying to make this shit for 10 years, and then this guy walked in one day and within 5 minutes got it, then yeah, there's a problem right there. But I don't think anybody was trying to pitch a movie about this. Maybe they were, and Lee Daniels is the producer here, so, Anyway, matinee for me. I liked it.
Okay. Well, I thought I was going to be on the same page with you, because I did enjoy the movie. I mean, I think it has numerous problems, as we've brought up. But for the most part, I wasn't bored with it, and I watched it to the end and enjoyed it, to a certain level. But I felt like, okay, on Netflix, this is the home for it, and it's a rental.
It's a little frustrating, but it's not a bad movie in any capacity. I was entertained by it, surprised by someone like Method Man who really held us. I actually would like to see more of him in the film. He did a good job.
True.
It's an interesting character. But yeah, it's right, as you said, Martin. It's right at home on Netflix. I'll give it a high rental.